There is a time to let go of the resistance, the steadfast march to complete the to-do lists for parents and activists and for all who love this life, these people, these mountains, this sky. There is a time to rest and to trust that the world will go on, filled with partners at the ready, all of us splitting shifts on this grand project of building and healing, of tending and turning. Breath and being require their own practice, their own attention, and the heart needs time for becoming stronger. After the shattering, the opening wider, the learning to love more and again. Come into this place, this space, this time. Study stillness and joy. Know your belovedness like a memory calling out from the center of your being, connecting every little piece of everything to everyone, to all of us. Feel here gratitude rising and praise for this chance to begin again this day with hope. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the UU Church of Berkeley. My name is Deborah Schmidt. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the worship associate for this service. This is a welcoming congregation, and we are always working on how to better welcome and care for one another. Whoever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. Please take a moment to prepare yourself and your space for our time together. Bring a candle and a way to light it so that you can join in the chalice lighting at home. Now, whether you are lighting a candle or the inner chalice of your heart, let us kindle our flames together with the words of Leslie Pohl Kosbau. Flame of fire, spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral hearth, agent of life and death, symbol of truth and freedom. We strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home.
Today is the fourth Sunday in Advent, the season in the Christian calendar that begins the fourth Sunday before Christmas and ends on Christmas Eve. Advent means waiting, and traditionally Advent is a season of preparation and anticipation as Christians wait for the birth of Jesus Christ. As Unitarian Universalist, Advent asks, what are we waiting for? What are we preparing for in our own lives and in the life of our world? In this season of long nights, Advent invites us to explore the themes of hope, peace, joy, and love. On this fourth and final Sunday in Advent, we light a candle for love. What love is growing within you this season? What love is taking root? May the light of this candle and this wreath help us bring more love into the world. Now please join in singing our opening song, a carol, a traditional solstice carol, Deck the Hall. The words will be on screen.
Please join with me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
Amber called her uncle, said we're up here for the holidays. Jane and I were having solstice, now we need a place to stay. And her Christ-loving uncle watched his wife hang Mary on a tree. He watched his son hang candy canes, all made with red dye number 3. He told his niece, it's Christmas Eve, I know our life is not your style. She said, Christmas is like solstice, and we miss you, and it's been a while. So the Christians and the pagans sat together at the table, finding faith and common ground the best that they were able. Just before the meal was served, hands were held and prayers were said, sending hope for peace on earth to all their gods and goddesses. The food was great, the tree plugged in, the meal had gone without a hitch, till Timmy turned to Amber and said, is it true that you're a witch? His mom jumped up and said, the pies are burning, and she hit the kitchen. And it was Jane who spoke. She said, it's true, your cousin's not a Christian, but we love trees, we love the snow, the friends we have, the world we share. And you find magic from your God, and we find magic everywhere. So the Christians and the pagans sat together at the table, finding faith and common ground the best that they were able. Where does magic come from? I think magic's in the learning, 'cause now when Christians sit with pagans, only pumpkin pies are burning. When Amber tried to do the dishes, her aunt said, really, no, don't bother. Amber's uncle saw how Amber looked like Tim and like her father. He thought about his brother, how they hadn't spoken in a year. He thought he'd call him up and say, it's Christmas and your daughter's here. He thought of fathers, sons, and brothers, saw his own son tug his sleeve, saying, can I be a pagan? Dad said, we'll discuss it when they leave. So the Christians and the pagans sat together at the table, finding faith and common ground the best that they were able, lighting trees in darkness, learning new ways from the old, and making sense of history and drawing warmth out of the cold.
Every Who down in Whoville loved Christmas a lot, but the pandemic that spread virus in Whoville did not. The virus hated Christmas and all holiday occasions, so parties were canceled alongside festive persuasions. The virus had come the early spring before with a fear that gripped most folks straight to their core. Schools, churches, and businesses' buildings were closed, but the virus kept spreading as if unopposed. The Who's all stayed steady and followed a path of 6 feet of distance, hand-washing, and masks. Hardest of all was the loss of connection from no time together, no hugs or affection. And were groups singing in concerts and carols, to do so was reckless and fraught with great peril. There could be no banquets or fun-filled gatherings. The virus, unfettered, kept right on hammering. But the Who's were resilient, again staying the course, FaceTime, texting, and Zoom were heavily endorsed. They packaged up presents and sent them through mail and dropped food on doorsteps. No contact prevailed. The virus had tried, stealing all the Who's joy through illness and layoffs and sinister ploys. But the Who's came together, sounding their call to care for all Who's, whether big or quite small. And though COVID the virus continued to spread, the Who's down in Whoville did not fill with dread. They held on to hope and comfort and peace. They put out their stockings and altars and wreaths. They sang holiday songs in their family homes, made snowmen, hot cocoa, and wrote winter poems. They called all their friends and found ways to feel near, spreading joy and laughter to loved ones so dear. In a season of hope that was not like most, the Who's found a good way to keep feeling close. Physical distance is measured in feet and in miles, but love transcends distance through gestures and smiles. So Who's, keep your chins up and your hearts full of cheer. COVID won't thwart us as we round out the year. We'll get through and be safe and be well, and years from now, oh, the stories we'll tell of the virus that came for Christmas to steal our joy and our comfort, but we did not yield. We kept dreaming of peace and of love and of hope. We kept keeping safe distance and managed to cope. The darkness will cease and the sun will return. The bells will still ring and the candles will burn. Welcome this season with a heart full of joy. Bring on the eggnog, the Yule logs, and toys. Christmas will come, Hanukkah and solstice too, and we'll ring in the new year, shouting 2020 adieu.
Our Unitarian Universalist faith draws from many sources, including humanist, Christian, and Jewish teachings, the words of prophetic people in many times and places, and wisdom from other traditions. Each Sunday we hear from many of them, but the first source of our liberal faith is our own personal experience of life. This morning I have a reflection for you in the shape of a poem on stillness. It's called The Stillness Between. There is a stillness between, as essential to creation as the air that surrounds us. Stillness is liminal, a threshold state, a sacred turning point. It is a waiting for what is to come, ad venire, Advent. It is a faithful, abiding expectation, expectationem. It is at once release and receptivity, a letting go and a letting in. Between sleeping and waking, stillness is that rosy hush just before the birds awaken. Between one wave and the next, stillness is the gathering of the ocean's power. Between speakers at a Quaker meeting, stillness is a waiting for the Spirit and a pondering of all that has been shared. Between poetic stanzas, stillness is the moment of reflection and possibility. Between musical events or phrases, stillness or silence is necessary to completion. My favorite composers are the ones who are unafraid of silence, who, like the ocean, use stillness as generative. Music heard is made potent by the unheard, by the emotive force that multiplies as listeners lean in, filling the voids with visions of their own. In the stillness of dawn, we can hear the first birds sing. In the stillness between waves, we feel through our toes the deep vibrations of earth and see. Between stanzas of a poem, we can sense the opening of our minds. Through musical rests, we are carried by stirrings of dreams. In the silences of meeting, we are moved by that of God in everyone. And in breaths between thoughts, we listen for the voice of our own loving hearts.
We now enter the time in our service that we make for our hearts and our spirits, our cares and concerns for one another and for ourselves. We lift up and hold the joys and sorrows, the cares and challenges that we may each be facing. During our time of silence this morning, I invite you to share any joys or sorrows or significant milestones of your own in the comments section. I invite us all to hold these cares in the compassionate embrace of this loving community. In this time of long nights and short days, let us seek our light within by contemplating through our mind's eye the image of a candle flame. Notice how the soft, quiet, gentle flame tamely rises from the wick. Yet just by touching a dry twig, it has the power to become a raging bonfire to light up the night. Let that little candle flame be your friend this morning. Allow it to quiet your mind as you attentively watch its flickering glow. Allow it to calm your mind in a way that brings a stillness that can light up the interior of your being and help you find the wellspring of your feelings. Allow that light to show you your inner sense of knowing that can help us notice the ways we've strayed or harmed others, knowing that can warm us, reflecting on the ways we've been touched and the ways we've opened our hearts, knowing that can inspire us through making new connections and discovering new insights. May this simple flame touch the dry twigs that guard our hearts, allowing the power of light to penetrate our walls of self-protection and show us the amazing potential for heat and light that resides within us. And now let us join in singing our meditative hymn for this morning, Voice Still and Small. The words will be on screen.
Quenching my tears through all the years, singing, voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing, in storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain, singing, calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
There's a beloved UU hymn that has been rattling around in my mind a good bit lately. It is almost 100 years old and was actually chosen to be the very first hymn in our gray hymnal. May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. Though our sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in. To keep hate out and hold love in. How much do we wish these things for all of the spaces that we're in? We talked about sanctuary last week, both some of the meanings for it and also how to find and settle into our own inner sanctuary, our own interior places of peace and stillness where we can turn for renewal and calm. One of the ways that we can tap into those inner spaces of calm is often through our touchstones, These may be phrases or poems or even songs that help us return to our inner space. And I don't know if it's more about the words or the music that helps make that shift, but I do know that it has to be at least the music to get there, at least for me. Sometimes the word too, but they're never without the music that ripples through me. And the hymn, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door, is one of them. It's also one of my top 10 favorite UU hymns. But it actually speaks both to inner stillness and to outer peace at the same time. It has one of the most calming tunes to it. And what it's talking about is creating our places of peace and creating our sanctuaries, creating places that keep hate out and hold love in. Now, I admit the words place and space have gotten really challenged during our time of perpetual lockdowns, when we're gathering in metaphorical and digital spaces far more than gathering in physical spaces. I'll even confess something to you. There are a lot of readings and such that we share in worship as well as other gatherings that I've been fiddling with the words of a bit more than usual. I've had to change things like the space we're gathered in to times that we come together. And even then, it still misses out on the fact that sometimes we're not only viewing things from different places, but also seeing them at different times. We have really now arrived in a time when we have to think about place and space in many different ways. For the most part, we've each been spending a lot of time lately in whatever space we may call home. Having a sheltering place that we call home is an ancient need of humans, really of all animals and other living species. Shelter is one of our basic needs. At the minimum, we need a place that shelters us from weather conditions that may be detrimental to our health. And we need a place where we can relax enough to be able to fall asleep and stay asleep, enough for the rest and rejuvenation our bodies need. But shelter and home can have many other meanings too. With the pandemic, the meaning of safety and shelter has definitely expanded to include shelter and protection from outside disease that we may catch and spread to others. But there are also many less tangible needs that we have for our shelters and homes. A place where we can feel safe, where we have our nest, a place that is familiar and allows us to relax. Now, not every home provides all of these things, and there are many who struggle with meeting many of these needs, even the basic needs. And because of the greater needs from our shelters during this time, many of these social and justice-related needs have gotten highlighted all the more so. There is some striving anew to meet the needs, but we do still have a long way to go. Whatever space that we may be taking refuge in, however large or small or tiny even, we can make that space to be what we need. And we can bless that space to be a place of peace and comfort for us. A really cool ritual that's not done nearly as much as it could be, and I'm a geek for rituals, so lots of rituals are really cool. But this one, it's not done as much as it could be, is house or home blessings. You've probably heard of some possible elements of these sorts of things. Things like the pagan or earth-based tradition of burning sage all around a new space, or a space that you're in if it just needs it. Or the other home-based tradition that Jewish families will do of hanging a mezuzah on their doorframe. Other folks may have traditions that are specific to them. In my niece's home, there is a hand-carved grizzly bear near the front door. It's not too big, it's only a foot and a half tall, but it's still a grizzly bear, and it's placed near the front door facing the door. She sees it as a protective amulet, and on occasion when someone puts something in front of the bear, she gets quickly intent on getting whatever it is moved, because, of course, it's blocking the bear's view of the door, getting in the bear's way of protecting the house. You can also make rituals for doing house or space blessings, which can feel really nice and clear out lingering energies, making space for that place to be your home rather than just any old space or even someone else's space. While I was serving as a chaplain at Johns Hopkins Hospital, they had a huge building project that was finished, completing a new hospital building that more than half of the units in the hospital would be moving into. It was really a big deal for the hospital, and nearly everyone was getting involved in some form or fashion. I came up with the idea of doing blessings for the new spaces that the hospital units would be moving into, and then that expanded to also include farewell rituals for the spaces they would be leaving. Many of the chaplains pitched in, and we created a nice blend of ritual actions along with sharing, both things they wanted to remember about the old space and hopes for the new. Since sage burning, or really burning anything at all for that matter, were really a no-go in the hospital, we had to do something different. So we used a bell that we rang in every corner of the new space to ritually cleanse that space. Many of the units, of the hospital units, took us up on one or both of the rituals. And although the nursing staff admitted they thought it was a little hokey ahead of time, they fairly universally got something out of the rituals. There are some other things we can do for our sheltering spaces too. One of the philosophies that I love returning to is the popular decluttering method created by Marie Kondo, the KonMari method, which, by the way, Marie Kondo, KonMari, it's actually just her name flipped around. Now, what I like most about it is the core philosophy behind her method of tuning ourselves in to what brings us joy and then filling our homes and the spaces we inhabit with those things. The things in our spaces are what set the way it feels for us. It can feel filled up or cluttered, noisy, reminding us of what we don't like in life or don't have in life, or it can feel calm and peaceful, reminding us of what brings us joy. Now, that doesn't mean our homes need to look like they could be pictured on magazines either. In fact, when I look at those pictures, I often think of how they actually don't feel very homey or comforting, and might in fact be fairly uncomfortable to be in for long periods of time. Now, taking that another step, we can also intentionally gather or place things that bring us joy, or make us happy, or remind us of other things. Popular author Gretchen Rubin has spent a lot of time growing and nurturing happiness in her life, a journey that she describes in her two books, The Happiness Project and Happier at Home. One of the physical things she talks about with regards to homes is making a happiness corner, or more than one, or a happiness altar in our spaces. It's a space where you gather representations of things that make you happy, so you can remind yourself of them and lift your spirits when you see that corner or that space. Now, before you go into thinking that that's hokey too, let me ask, how many of us keep things around? Photos, mementos, books, and put them in a space where we'll see them just because they make us happy. There you have it, your own informal happiness altar. Now, not only can we work on making the spaces we live in safe and peaceful and joyful, but we can also strive to make the spaces that we gather that way too. Of course, during these times, that primarily means our virtual spaces. We light chalices, share treasured words, remind ourselves of our covenant, and fill our spaces with music to infuse them with love and peace. But given how tumultuous our world is, that doesn't always mean that they are peaceful all of the time. In the first place, they're filled with all of our various human personalities, and while we all mean well and have similar ultimate goals we're striving for our congregation, for our faith, for our world, That doesn't mean that it is always smooth sailing for us. And then there are the unfriendly intrusions from the outside that also come in from time to time. We had one of these just this past week when we were the target of a raid during our Zoom coffee hour. And while we hope that our sheltering walls will keep hate out and hold love in at all times, that doesn't mean that we'll always be successful. There is a lot of hate out there in the world. Opening our doors, letting our walls be somewhat permeable does mean that that hate can try to get through. But there is something that I absolutely believe, that our love and compassion is greater than any hate that sticks its little nose through our door. They are greater and will always be greater. This is part of being the spiritual sanctuary that we are. We know our walls are strong, walls that are physical and walls that are metaphorical. We also know our love and compassion are strong and that our hearts are big. That's what lets us be the sanctuary we can be, and what lets us share our place of sanctuary with others, inviting them into this place of peace that we found or created. All in all, I'd say that Unitarian Universalism as a whole has two core missions. One of those core missions is prophetic, doing what we can to change what isn't right in the world. That's why you hear me talk about injustices and oppressions and remind us of the world that we dream about so much. That is one of our overriding missions. The other of our missions that I'm referring to here is sharing our peace and our sanctuary. It is about welcoming. One of our core missions is to be an affirming, welcoming, accepting place. Welcoming those from different spiritual beliefs, different races and ethnicities, different histories, different affectional orientations, different gender identities. To be a place where folks can find warmth and acceptance. Now, this is not to say that we're always good at it. Come on, we're human beings after all, and we've got plenty of our own issues and cliques and assimilation expectations and the like. But to me, this is one of the things that we're here for, welcome. And the sanctuary part, doing so by sharing our community and our care with others. We have this amazing place we've created and we've nurtured. This place of welcoming, this place of acceptance, different identities, different needs, different religious and spiritual journeys, filled with a tremendous amount of love. We've created this space, and it's our mission as Unitarian Universalists to welcome others into it. Does this mean that hate might occasionally try to poke its stinky nose in? Yeah. But that doesn't mean that we can't rebuff the hate and cancel its impact. Our sanctuaries not only rebuff hate, but also give us a space where peace and joy and love can grow and grow. Hate and fear don't stand a chance here. Let us keep joining together and blessing the spaces we share and the spaces we inhabit, filling them with love and joy, carving out spaces of stillness and peace, holding and sheltering us whenever we need them, and refueling us for each and every day. May it be so.
As always, UUCB needs your gifts and support as we continue to make ours a vibrant and loving community, inspiring spiritual growth and justice and lives of integrity and service. We also hope you will continue to practice generosity, especially with our Good Neighbor organizations. This month we're sharing half of our offerings with the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity to support the good work they do in our wider community. The Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity defends the humanity of the immigrant and fights for the rights of the incarcerated. Working at the intersection of spirituality and social movements, they mobilize congregations to take a stand on issues of social justice like immigration and mass incarceration, and they engage people of faith to develop their own leadership so they can stand up against racism, discrimination, and the political challenges of the day. Offerings of any value are received with gratitude. More details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as our offertory begins. Thank you for your generosity.
O thou that tellest good tidings to Zion, get thee up into the high mountain. O thou that tellest good tidings to Zion, get thee up into the high mountain. Get thee up into the high Thou that tellest good tidings to Jerusalem, lift up thy voice with strength, lift it up, be not afraid. Say unto the cities of Judah, say unto the cities of Judah, behold your God, behold your God. Say unto the cities of Judah, behold your God, behold your God, behold your God. O thou that tellest good tidings to Zion, arise, shine, for thy light is come. Arise, 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 shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord, the glory of the Lord is risen upon me, is risen upon me. The glory, the glory, the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee.
Please join me In dedicating our offering, we dedicate our offerings and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. It is always so good to be together in praise and song, even virtually. Before we go to coffee hour on Zoom, I would like to encourage you to stay informed about and involved in all that's going on in our congregation by exploring our website, uucb.org. Among other things, you can find there a link under News to the Week Ahead, our weekly email newsletter, which has a great list of upcoming activities. But I'd like to tell you about a few special things. First, you will be happy to know that Carol Carlisle has created a virtual labyrinth for us this year, so stay tuned for the link in the week ahead. Second, I hope that you can join us online for our holiday services this week. Tomorrow, Monday, we will have a service celebrating the winter solstice, streaming on YouTube and Facebook starting at 7 p.m. Then Wednesday, instead of our usual Vespers, we'll be sharing a blue holiday service starting at 6 p.m. on Zoom. Our Christmas Eve service will be streaming on Facebook and YouTube at 5, 9, and 11 p.m. Last, we invite you to join the Sing Along Messiah at 4 p.m. this afternoon online via Zoom. Join in Handel's evergreen masterpiece with soloists, orchestra, costumes, and the magnificent choruses of the Messiah, the perfect way to spark your holiday spirit. The event is free, but donations are welcome. You will find the link on the UUCB homepage. Hallelujah! Now, please join in singing our closing song, Find a Stillness, number 352 in the Gray Hymnal, if you have one at home. The words will be on the screen.
Find the stillness, hold the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. See the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
When the winds of your daring days begin to swirl, may you find your breath. May you remember that still point inside, within you and around you, that still point that is always waiting to welcome you back home. From your place of sacred peace, from that home that holds you in its embrace, may you be an anchor of calm for those who need it as much as you. Go in peace, go in love, and remember, you're never all alone. Blessed be.